Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals. First order of business is roll call. Ms. Tesmer? Here. Ms. Farrell?
Here.
Ms. Mayweather?
Here.
Mr. Kent?
Here.
Mr. Sherritt?
Here.
Mr. Bronner?
Here.
And Ms. Konishi is here. We have before us the meeting minutes from the January meeting. Have anyone to
Move to approve.
Second.
have a motion approved and a second? Ms. Tesmer?
Yes.
Ms. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Mayweather?
Here.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Sherritt?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
And Ms. Konishi, yes. I will now turn it over to our city attorney.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals. This is a board that is appointed by our city commission. They are volunteer members of our community. They are not city staff members, but they are charged with deciding and hearing requests for variances from our city's land development code and granting such variances where the literal enforcement of the code would create an undue hardship or unnecessary burden, and granting that variance would be contrary to public interest. The way the procedures will work this morning, our chair will call each applicant forward. If you could just state your name and address for the record and give a brief description of what you're requesting for the board. Our board will be able to ask any questions they may have, and then staff will also be able to present any additional information. And there will also be an opportunity, if there are any members in the audience from the public that wish to speak for or against a particular variance, they'll be able to come forward and speak as well. I would ask, if you are planning on speaking before the board today, if you could stand at this time, and I'll go ahead and swear you in if you raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Turn it back over to our chair.
Thank you. Next up, we have some new business. We have a new board member, Thomas Bronner.
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and welcome Mr. Bronner to the board here. Mr. Bronner and his wife, they operate the Alta Schoolhouse in South Lakeland here. And he's been involved for several years just with planning staff through the development of that school there. So we're very familiar with him, and I think he'll be a great addition to the board, so we welcome him.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so next up, we have our first item. This is a variance for 321 West Peachtree Street. The request is for a 6.2-foot variance to allow a street side setback of 3.8 feet from Virginia Avenue in lieu of the 10-foot minimum setback specified by Table 3.4-1 of the Land Development Code. Number 2 is a 4.3-foot variance to allow a front setback of 3.7 feet from West Peachtree Street in lieu of the 10-foot minimum setback specified by Table 3.4-1 of the Land Development Code. And number 3 is a 4.3-foot variance to allow a street side setback of 5.7 feet from New York Avenue in lieu of the 10-foot minimum setback specified by Table 3.4-1 of the Land Development Code in order to construct a new 4-story, 84-unit multifamily residential development on the property located at 321 West Peachtree Street. Who is here for this application? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Wilkerson. I'm with Fincelier Real Estate. I represent the development group on this project, which is located at 321 West Peachtree Street. And so the variance that you identified is in regards to the setbacks on the east, west, and south side of that block that you see there. And I would say, first of all, we've met with the city, and we've received some initial staff approval in our plans. We're almost to the point of now having permits in hand. And really what this is allowing us to do is to comply with the City of Lakeland's future comprehensive plan for this specific location in terms of increasing density and walkability. And really what this is doing is on those portions there that are highlighted in red, it's allowing us to put on the lower level stoops for each of the units that are on the first floor. So the tenants that will be living in those units will be able to walk directly out to Peachtree Street. And really what we're seeing with this project is we are going to be the connectivity between the core central downtown and what we were looking at as, to the west, which, where we have Bonnet Springs Park, the other South Lake Wire development, which will have a large mixed-use component to it, which will be utilized by our tenants. But really, it goes back to increasing overall the density in that location and the walkability of that location, which is part of the city's comprehensive future planning documents.
Hey, good morning. I'm Philip Scarce, Principal Planner with Community and Economic Development. I apologize for running through those slides real quick, but I wanted to get to the site plan as this gentleman was speaking here. This is the site of the old Lake Wire Retirement Center. Very familiar site. This is George Jenkins Boulevard. Lawton Childs is here. This is Peachtree. This is right here. Obviously, I have Lake Wire there. We'll just run through the slides. This is looking west on Peachtree. You can see the retirement center that's still there. That will be demolished when prior to development. Obviously, it's a 6,160 square foot building. This is looking at New York and Peachtree. This is looking back east along Peachtree, back towards Lawton Childs. This is looking north at Virginia. And this is just looking northeast at the site on Virginia as well. And this is looking due north at the old retirement center. And this is looking back west, or excuse me, south towards Lake Wire. So this is site plan, as the applicant stated. They are seeking variances for the frontages along, for the 10-foot setback along Virginia, New York, and Peachtree for those entrance features that are located there. The site is zoned MF22, which is multifamily, with the exception of this corner here, which is O1. Excuse me, but that allows multifamily uses as well by right. So this is this multifamily building is permitted use by right, with the exception of these variances that they seek today. There's within the urban corridor context districts. So in that urban corridor, it requires a 10-foot setback from those lines. But with this, excuse me, being located near the downtown, these streets act more like a main street, and again, trying to enhance that walkability of Peachtree. It's just within the Lakeland, West Lakeland downtown redevelopment area. And again, emphasis placed on the urban design, locating buildings closer to the street in order to create attractive and pedestrian-oriented street frontages. The elevated entrances are necessary to add the natural change in grade and a need of parking and a need for privacy for residents at the ground floor from people that are walking by or driving by. Public Works has also reviewed this and does not have any objections. The amount of relief requested is proportionate to the degree of the hardship resulting from a natural grade change and proximity to adjacent streets and the minimum amount of necessary to accommodate the stairways. Approval of variance would not be contrary to public interest, and granting of the requested relief would not impact adjacent streets and pedestrian facilities. Provided there is no substantive objections from adjacent property owners, staff does recommend approval of the 3 variances that are located along Virginia, Peachtree, and New York, if I got this correct. So, stand for any questions you may have.
That area behind it, is that dedicated for parking?
Yes, that'll be a structured parking.
Yeah, they're gonna
garage.
have a two-story parking
Parking
garage
garage.
there. We work with them on that as well, but that does not require any variances for what they're proposing. So this is a substantial infill project here. This combined with the Lake Wire border tile plant, which is underway. And there's another property to the west where the Emery Bryant House, formerly Zoro's, that's going into rezoning, which will be like redeveloped as well. So the future vision for this area, for the CRA, in downtown, it really is for kind of like a new neighborhood west of downtown there. So this would be consistent with that vision.
The existing trees that are on the front of that, on that street that's facing Lake Way, are those trees going to stay or are they going to go?
I believe those are going, but we will have a mitigation plan that we have to comply with. So anything that comes out will have to be replaced, so.
Yep.
And we will be on the parking garage on the north side. We're also including a landscape buffer to kind of reduce the impact of the visibility of that coming from George Jenkins, so.
Can you go back to that slide to see where is the Lawton Child School sit?
It would
From
be
where
to
parking
the
garage-
It's over to the,
East, yes. It's about 2 blocks
over to the east, yeah, about 2 blocks.
Okay. So the flow of the traffic, because I know the Lawton Child School traffic is really heavy. So the flow of the, is that the flow of the school traffic versus where the apartments and the parking entrance and exits, is that? How does
Yeah, traffic would come in north on the west side of the property, and then go east along the north side from the parking garage there. I know there was a significant discussion about that during site plan review with both planning and public works. So they are satisfied that's not going to create any issues there with what's being proposed.
Is every setback, I'm sorry, is every variance request related to a stoop?
That's,
No- Yeah, I'm sorry.
that's
Yes.
correct, that's
Okay.
correct.
Could you show on the
Elevation?
elevation where the stoops are? Like, yeah. On that, yeah.
So they're along, the front here. You can see the stairs, the elevated stairs here.
Understood, okay, all right. So they're not on
There,
ground,
and
they're
then on
not
the
on ground
side.
floor, so it's just, you go up the stairs and then you're able to enter into your
Right.
front door, okay.
Yes. So part of that's due, again, to the grade change, which looks south towards the lake, but also, generally, when you're closer to the street, you have living units, there's a greater need for privacy.
Yeah,
If you've ever been to New York and walked by, those townhomes, you
completely, yeah.
understand why.
So the variance is really just for that elevated stair then?
Correct, for those elements of the
Yeah.
design, otherwise the building meets the setbacks.
Yeah,
so.
okay, great.
Any other questions from the board?
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Tessmer? Yes. Ms. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Mayweather?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Charette?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
And Ms. Konishi, yes. It's approved.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a request for a 3.5 variance to allow for an 11.5-foot rear yard setback in lieu of the 15-foot minimum rear yard setback specified by the PUD zoning for Sandpiper Golf and Country Club, and a 3.4% variance to allow for a maximum lot coverage of 38.4% in lieu of the 35% maximum specified by Table 3.4-5 of the Land Development Code to allow for the conversion of an existing patio screen enclosure to a sunroom with a hard roof on the property located at 6151 Crane Drive. Who is here to represent?
Good Good morning, I'm Diane Smith, I'm the property owner at 6151, and any questions will be answered probably by the contractor.
So your intent is to create a hard roof screen room?
Yes.
You can see the, sorry, you can see the screen room
Can you
there.
state your name for the record, please? Sorry.
Jonathan Pike.
Thank you.
The screen room was painted by the previous owner with a rubber-coated roof. You can kind of see it looks like a roof already.
Oh, yeah.
And when we signed with her, we thought it was a hard roof. And we're just wanting to make it an official hard roof, that's all. So they must have made it a screen room because it didn't fit into the variance. This is a project of what it would look like when it's done, the hard roof and the windows and the gutters and downspouts. So it's really just modifying the screen room. And she's got a substantial amount of property back there, but the variance cuts way into it. And there's no homeowners behind her or golf course or anything, just a drainage.
The actual room is going to remain the same size. No changes in the actual dimensions. It's just we're putting on a different roof, and I'm
Putting windows in.
putting windows in.
Instead of
Yeah,
screen.
when they mow back there, the dust comes in, and
Sure.
I have mud puddles. So,
And this has already been approved by the Sandpiper HOA?
yes.
Okay,
Pending a variance.
sure.
Good morning. I don't know that I have that much more to say, but I'm Todd Vargo, Senior Planner with Community and Economic Development. Here's the subject site. It's approximately 0.13 acres, and the single-family home was built in 1991. We're in Sandpiper. In Sandpiper, we've previously granted variances for screen rooms with a hard roof when the property is adjacent to the golf course or a drainage feature or perimeter boundary. In this case, you can see 6151 Crane Drive backs up to this massive retention pond. So the effects on neighboring properties will be minimal. The request from Ms. Smith is to obtain variance relief to allow for the conversion of this screen patio into a hard roofed sunroom. Sunroom meaning that it's got the glass on there instead of screens. Patio screen enclosures are subject to less stringent setbacks than additions with a hard roof, because once you put the hard roof on there, you need to meet the principal setbacks, because the hard roof can easily, maybe not easily, but can be converted into livable area. So this is the existing screen room. Here's another shot.
The painted part that they were talking about is on the wall that you cannot,
Yeah, there's a wall that's painted too.
yeah, a wall and a roof that are both painted. Now, from, actually here you can see the tears in the roof.
Oh,
of
yeah.
that painted screen.
Yeah, and that was permitted as a screen enclosure with a screen roof, so that was never permitted to have a hard roof is what happened.
Here's a faraway look at the 6151 Crane Drive, and again, you can see there's nobody going to be impacted by this to the rear because it's got this giant stormwater pond. There it is right there. And then the contractor, here's the approval from the HOA's Architectural Review Board. And then the contractor was nice enough to give me an example of what it would look like, possibly look like when it's all done. Doesn't look all that different. Yeah, I mean, it'll match,
that pitch
it'll
roof.
still match the roof, but it'll have the glass windows instead of the screen rooms.
I'm kind of looking to extend the seasonal use of that.
And then here's the site plan. You can see that it'll be 11.5 feet from the rear property line. So we believe the hardship suffered is not the result of any action taken by the applicant, and is due to the relatively small size of lots within Sandpiper. The amount of relief requested is reasonable and the minimal amount necessary to accommodate the proposed sunroom. And due to the minimal impact on the adjacent properties, we recommend you consider this request for approval. And I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Tesmer?
Yes.
Ms. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Mayweather?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Sherritt?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
Ms. Konishi, yes, it's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Next applicant is for 2006 Edgewood Drive South. This request is for a 10-foot variance to allow a street side setback of 40 feet from the Edgewood Drive South in lieu of a 50-foot minimum setback specified by PUD 3470F in order to construct a laundromat on the property located at 2006 Edgewood Drive South. Good morning. Could you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Mike Gurr. My address is 135 Van Fleet Court, Auburndale, Florida.
Thank you. Can you give us a brief description of your application?
Well, the site, only one corner of the site would be only 40 feet from the edge of the road. There it is. You see that's the area right there. Everything else is if you go to the other corner, you'll see it's like 58 feet setback. And that's all we're requesting, is that one little variance. And it's because the road angles there.
So again, Todd Vargo with Community and Economic Development. This subject property is located on Edgewood Drive South at the intersection of Edgewood Drive South and Lakeland Highlands Road. It's part of the zoning, the PUD zoning for the larger Winn-Dixie Marketplace to the south. This big shopping center there on Lakeland Highlands. The subject property is about half an acre in size, and it's located to the rear of an existing 7-Eleven convenience store with gasoline sales, which is also part of this PUD. These two, actually 3 out parcels. The one is the retention pond that's there. This out parcel is undeveloped, and then this one was developed with the 7-Eleven, I believe in 1999. So when this PUD was adopted, there were some rather large setbacks, and I don't know that they were really thinking about the out parcels. I think they were more thinking about the shopping center, because there's a 50-foot setback from Edgewood Drive South, which this shopping center easily meets because of all the parking that you have to have there. But the out parcel here doesn't, it's a little bit more difficult, as you could see when I had the site plan up, and we'll get back to that. It's a little more difficult for this out parcel to meet this 50-foot setback because of the weird geometry to it. Certainly, there's a lot of room here, but it narrows as it heads towards Taft Avenue here. And so this side doesn't have as much depth. This roadway right here is a connection from Edgewood Drive South into that 7-Eleven, which we plan on keeping because it'll also serve the proposed laundromat. But again, they kind of put it on this side, which is the deeper side, or the side with more depth of this lot. And to maybe hamstring it a little bit more, this is the plan. This is the plan that is in the PUD. So here's Edgewood Drive South. Here's the Winn-Dixie Shopping Center. This out parcel 4 is where the 7-Eleven is, and this out parcel 3 is where the proposed laundromat is going to go. You can see from this that the dividing line between out parcel 3 and out parcel 4 met this kind of parallel line that runs over to Lakeland Highlands Road, and then this again is the retention pond. Well, you can see the way it's configured now is that the line, the property boundary shared by the proposed laundromat and the 7-Eleven doesn't meet that anymore. So this out parcel, probably at the time when this was built in 1999, they decided to take more room for the 7-Eleven and moved this boundary line back from where it would meet right here at this line, and they moved it back here, probably without any review, to be honest. And so this also creates, again, to further hamstring the development of this site, especially with the 50-foot setback from Edgewood Drive South. So this parcel that is the subject of our requested variance has shrunk over time too. I'll give you a couple of slides. So this is on the south side of Edgewood Drive South, looking north. Here's that entranceway into the 7-Eleven, the gas station, which you can see the back of it there. So the laundromat will be right around in this area. This is from the corner. This is like the entranceway into to the back of where this photo was taken is the entranceway into the Winn-Dixie Plaza. And again, you can see the through the trees, you can see the gas station and in fact the canopy covering the pumps. Here's Taft Avenue and here's Edgewood Drive South, so the laundromat's going to be in here. This is taken from the retention pond and looking east. So this is Edgewood Drive South right here. This is that entrance way that leads to the gas station and the convenience store. And you can just see a little bit of the Winn-Dixie Plaza here on the right. So again, the laundromat's going to be in this area right here. And again, this is the entrance road, the back of the 7-Eleven, and again, right here is where the proposed laundromat will go. Here's the site plan as provided by Mr. Gurr. And you can see that, again, because there's not a lot of depth to this parcel, there's a lot of width, but we do require the closest point from the laundromat to the property line is 40 feet. So we are requesting a reduction in the setback that was established by the PUD, a reduction from 50 feet to 40 feet.
And this is a revision to the site plan I believe you had in your packet, which had the dumpster put previously on Edgewood Drive South. So we had asked them to look at other options. So this does show it being on Taft Avenue, the back of the building there. So that's where it would be located. This is approved.
Yeah, y'all, we had proposed that.
Yeah.
But in talking with the planners, they requested that we move it.
Yeah, we feel this is a better location. But we also feel that the amount of relief requested is proportionate to the degree of hardship resulting from the relatively small parcel size, the existing driveway, and this irregular lot geometry where the parcel actually gets skinnier as it heads to the northeast, associated with the development of the adjacent 7-Eleven on out parcel 4 in 1999. Approval of a variance would not be contrary to the public interest. The requested relief is reasonable and proportionate to the degree of hardship and the minimum amount necessary to allow for development of the property, provided there are no substantive objections from adjacent property owners, we recommend the request be considered for approval.
And you haven't received any objections from the neighbors?
No, ma'am.
So I'm just seeing 13 parking spaces,
Yes, that's what the city of Lakeland required us to add.
and the existing entrance is going to stay there, then the parking's just going to be on either side.
Correct, correct. We meet all the other requirements, like 20 feet from the roadway for the building, 15 feet from the back lot, 50 feet from the other side. It's just that one corner. And you can see we're at 58 feet on the southwest corner.
Yeah, the PUD is interesting in that it actually has setbacks for the parking areas too. So that's why they can't really park up in front of the laundromat.
Right.
They have to park over here. Because remember, this is a retention pond, it's still part of the PUD. So this is the best place for the parking.
It's a really very challenging site. So we tried to find a solution that would at least minimize the impacts as far as where the building is located and the dumpster and the parking, but there really aren't a lot of options here. But we think this is probably the best solution.
Just curious, does that still allow access to the 7-Eleven, or is that going to be?
There's a reciprocal agreement for access.
Any other questions from the board?
Move to approve?
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Ms. Tessmer?
Yes.
Ms. Farrell?
Yes.
Mayweather?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Sherritt?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
Ms. Cornishi, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have 827 North Lincoln Avenue. This is a request for a 6-foot variance to allow a front yard setback of 9 feet in lieu of the 15-foot minimum setback specified by Table 4.3-1 of the Land Development Code in order to replace an existing non-conforming porch with a deck on the property located at 827 North Lincoln Avenue. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yeah, first name is Ruben, last name is Pierre, Pierre. I am the property owner for 827 North Lincoln Avenue. And basically, what we are asking for is an approval for the front porch. This is an issue that's been going since pre-COVID, and I'm just here to get this going so I can get the permit approved, so I can be in code and get it done for the city.
So again, Todd Vargo with Community and Economic Development. The site is at the corner of Lincoln Avenue and Adams Street. It is a non-conforming lot, a legal non-conforming lot, because it doesn't meet our 50-foot minimum lot width today for the RA4 UNH zoning district. It's about 35 feet wide. And like I said, it's supposed to be 40. The subject property is, 50-foot minimum lot, not 40. The subject property is currently improved with a 1-story, 830 square foot single-family home, which was originally built in 1930, according to the property appraiser. And it used to look like this. This was the house prior to any work being done on it. It had the entranceway with the porch, the covered porch, and this, hard to tell because again, these are older pictures, but the porch and the house are moved up front on the lot, so they don't meet our front setbacks from Lincoln Avenue. But again, the house was built in 1930, so you can kind of understand why.
And that porch is about 18 feet wide. So what they replaced it with is a little bit different. Tal will go through and explain that.
Yeah, so after the porch was demolished, it was replaced with this deck on the front, at the same depth, but it's a little wider. This deck actually comes to the corners of the house.
It'd be 22 feet wide, about 2 feet on either side.
Yeah, so it's about 4 foot wider, 2 on either side. So the minimum front setback for this district is 15 feet. The property was cited by code enforcement in November of 2020 for demolishing that existing covered porch and constructing this new deck without a building permit. In November of 2021, the construction company applied for a building permit for the construction of the new deck at the same distance from the Lincoln Avenue right-of-way as the existing, or as the former porch was. And during the review of the building permit, we noted that both this original front porch and the new deck don't meet the 15 feet, the setback for Lincoln Avenue. So here's maybe a better look at it right here. So normally we would have a 15-foot setback, which would go to right about here. This, as constructed, is a 9-foot setback. So we're asking for 6 foot of variance. And if we were to have Mr. Pierre meet the setbacks, that would leave him with about 2 feet of a deck or porch, which really is not very usable.
Todd, that sidewall, when you were reviewing the permit, did you confirm there were no issues with the side visibility triangle at the intersection as far as that maybe blocking visibility from traffic coming down Lincoln Avenue?
Yeah, it's fine. The existing home, again, sits 17 feet from the right-of-way for North Lincoln Avenue. The deck, as built, extends 8 feet from the west side of the existing single-family home and is set back approximately 9 feet from the right-of-way along North Lincoln Avenue, like I said. The current owner purchased the property in September of 2020, unaware of the nonconformity that existed with the first existing porch, and went ahead again and demolished the front porch and replaced it with this deck. The particular hardship is suffered is related to the setbacks and footprint of the existing house, which again, you can probably see from this aerial a little bit better too. This is kind of a deep lot, and in 1930 they put the house, right up on the corner, which, I don't know in 1930 how well Lincoln was traveled or if it was that wide or anything, but so the position of the house and everything is not Mr. Pierre's fault. Again, if the requested variance relief is denied, the deck would have to be cut back to essentially 2 foot wide or 2 foot deep.
You might be able to fit a chair on that.
Yeah, a nice skinny chair, severely limiting the functionality of the uncovered deck.
I would say it was a hazardous, the way that it was built from back in the day. I have seniors living in the home, and I'm just trying to help out the community.
Where is the property line?
So the property line's right here about at the sidewalk.
It is at the sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Yeah, the sidewalk is in the Lincoln Avenue right-of-way, so the property line is on the house side of the sidewalk.
Todd, can you show the front again, from Lincoln?
This one?
Okay.
And Todd, you said that visibility triangle is met?
Yes.
Okay.
There is an issue as far as the land development code. It does require a single family. You maintain an entrance feature, either a covered stoop or porch. So technically, when they remove the porch there, they put the deck in front, they created a nonconformity. So if this is approved, we would ask for a couple of conditions. I think Todd can get through here, but they maintain a minimum covered stoop over the doorway there. This area is not historic, but they still require to have that under the code. We would not allow just a house with a deck in front, as shown there, so that would be our recommendation.
Is that something that you would be willing to meet?
As far as, you said, the doorway,
Yeah, putting a roof
Yeah, of
over that
course.
entryway?
is there a spec as far as, the whole idea was to remove the falling, deteriorated, roof up front. We can replace that with some kind of awning, with an awning do?
Does an awning meet?
It would have to be a more permanent roof structure. It couldn't be like a fabric awning. It had to be probably like a, either a hard roof or some type of prefabricated hard roof.
Metal?
Yeah.
And Matt, what would happen if at a later date did they decide to enclose that porch?
They wouldn't be able to inclusion under the zoning, so they applied for a permit, it would be denied. But we wouldn't have to span the full length of the deck. Obviously, there may be some drainage issues if you have water running off and
Sure.
pulling on that deck, so that would be for the contractor to figure out what the best solution is.
And the minimum for the covered entranceway is 7?
Minimum
5 feet?
5 by 5 feet, the minimum clear height of 7.5 feet.
Okay.
So you're still gonna have to remove a good portion of the deck to construct the roof,
Yeah.
regardless.
True.
Say that again?
Have to remove the
He's
deck?
gonna have to remove a good portion of the deck just to build the roof that's required.
Roof up.
And the reason that, the project is where it's at is because during, pandemic, we started the project, and the contractor was not able to get the, permit, with the city because it wasn't, closed. And that's the issue that we are having now. That was the, first, plan that we decided to, that the front end of the deck was going to be covered. But we had to stop because when the pandemic and code enforcement got involved. And that's the only reason that I'm here trying to get this, get solved.
And the reason you're gonna have to remove the roof is for footers, right, for support?
I think the hardship is fine, we need to have the extra space, but
Yeah.
there's still a long ways to go.
Yeah, they've got a lot of hurdles that they're gonna have to get through.
This isn't the end of the challenge.
So the entrance feature could be either a stoop or a porch. As Matt was saying, the stoop requires a 5 by 5 covered space, where the porch is, I'm blanking on, I had it written
8 by
down.
10, I believe, would be the minimum for a porch. 8 feet deep and 10 feet wide.
Just out of curiosity, how do you differentiate between a stoop and a porch?
Typically, a porch has a higher finish floor elevation. I believe it's 21 inches. The stoop only has to be 7 inches, one step up.
So that's a porch, given that it's 3 steps. Is it
yeah.
okay. Is it dependent, is the porch or stoop dependent on the height of the floor, or is it dependent on the roof above?
Well, they both have to have a covered roof above, so
Yeah.
the stoop has a smaller roof area, where a porch is obviously intended to be more of a livable outdoor room.
Yeah, I think from our conditions, we're okay with a 5 foot by 5 foot covered area, which would match a stoop,
Got it.
even though the height and everything is more of a porch.
Okay,
But-
okay, great.
But we're trying to work with Mr. Pierre, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
we also want to see this building permit get approved, and,
Right.
yeah.
Keep it off
Yeah,
the records.
we don't like having to recommend after the fact, but in this case, it was done without a permit, so that's going to have to be corrected.
Move to approve.
One question prior to, so if we were to approve this, then we would also recommend point 1 and 2.
Yes, I would say with
On the
staff's
condition.
conditions for approval, if you want to add that to your motion.
What is the recommendation again?
recommending approval with the following conditions. Number one, to satisfy zoning requirements for an entrance feature, a covered roof shall be constructed and maintained above the front entrance to the existing home. Number two, the roof surface for the entrance feature shall be a minimum of 5 feet wide by 5 foot deep and provide a minimum clear height of 7 foot 6 inches.
So it could be larger. If it needs to be deeper to address the footers, it could certainly be that, but this would just be the minimum for the variance.
And Mr. Kent has made a motion to approve as long with the recommendation of those 2 points.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Ms. Tesper? Yes. Ms. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Mayweather?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Sherritt?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
Ms. Konishi, yes. It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perry, do you want a copy of that? Yeah. There you go.
Next, we have 211 High Britton Way. The request is for a 2-foot variance to allow an 8-foot-high fence in lieu of the maximum height of 6 feet for residential fences and walls specified by Figure 4.4-1 of the Land Development Code in order to construct an 8-foot-high fence along the south or the rear property boundary on the property located at 211 High Britton Way.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Folsom. My wife Kitty and I have been residing at 211 High Britton Way since the 80s, over 38 years. I'm here to ask you to allow me to replace my Ian destroyed 8-foot fence, 28 years old. That's what happens when you hire the right fence guy. But anyway, that's the reason we're here. The discussions that we can have, you can see the photo to give you an idea of the building proximity to the rear county line, both my back door neighbors and myself.
Hello, good morning. Damaris Stahl, Senior Planner of Community Economic Development. As mentioned, this is a variance for to allow a 2-foot variance for a 8-foot-high privacy fence in lieu of the maximum height of 6 feet for the residential fences and specified in Figure 4.4-1 of the Land Development Code. The property at 211 High Britton Way. This home was originally built in 1937, so and it's approximately a little over half an acre. Following are just a couple of photos of the property. This here's the southeast corner of the rear yard. And this here is the south boundary, and as you can see, the elevation on this figure here. And this also is towards the south boundary, facing towards the pool deck. And it's just the rear yard area. And then this here's near the western property boundary. The purpose of this request is to obtain the variance relief, which will allow the 8-foot-high fence privacy along the rear property line. The applicant justification for this request is both the need for privacy due to the existing pool, as well as the significant grade and change in the rear yard. It's a little difficult to see in this figure, but there's approximately, there are some elevations on this site plan that specifically show the slope of the property towards the east. It's approximately 4 feet in grade of change from the primary residence. So the additional height request is from the rear neighbors, along the rear property line. The particular hardship suffered is not the result taking any action towards the applicant. And staff recognizes that there's a fairly significant change in grade of the property from east to west. And the result of this relief is reasonable in proportion to the degree of the hardship resulting of the natural grade change on the property. There were provided no objections from the adjoining property owners, and staff recommends approval of the variance. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you. The existing height of that fence now is 8 feet, correct?
Correct.
And it's just replacing what's already there, it's not extending any further, or,
No, it's, the backyard is 189 plus. It's going to be, 189 from east to west.
So that was, you said it's been there for 28 years, since 1995?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, back then 8 foot would have been allowed by right, so it was a grandfathered,
Right.
non-conforming fence.
any questions from the board? We have a motion? Second. And a second. Ms. Tesmer?
Yes.
Ms. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Mayweather?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Sherritt?
Yes.
And Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
And Ms. Konishi, yes. Approved.
Thank you very much. Keep safe.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Folsom.
Do we have any unfinished business? Guess not. Well, then we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.